Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. You know, there's a great phrase for leadership. It's really important and a lot of people miss it. Leaders must keep the main thing, because otherwise you have drift, and that can absolutely destroy your organization. That's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders. Stay tuned.
Master the story power method to captivate your audience, improve workplace culture, and 10x your fundraising.
Scan the QR code to book your first coaching call or visit storypowercoach.com.
Subscribe now for access to our extensive media library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom. Begin your personal growth plan at storypoweracademy.com for leadership development and communication skills training.
I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. It really is amazing how many people get distracted by things that are, well, they shouldn't be distractions. We've all seen it. We all joke about it. Squirrel, right? Like the dog who can't seem to go for a walk without the squirrel happening. But sometimes squirrel isn't literally an outside distraction. It's worse. It's an internal distraction. And I don't just mean an internal distraction within yourself, which happens. Dr. Caroline Leaf calls it the multitasking milkshake. And what she means by that is we tend to switch emotionally from one event to another, sometimes only in our subconscious mind. But if you've got things going on in your life that they're a little tumultuous, they're a little relationally challenging, they're financial challenges, they're hard times at home. Been watching a series of shows, I think it's a Netflix series called Nemesis. And one of the primary characters in the show is so obsessed, not just with his work, but with a specific aspect of his work, a specific character in the aspect of his work, a specific character that had something to do with something that happened years ago. And yet that seems to be the common thread that distracts his everyday life. Impacts his job, impacts his marriage, impacts his relationship with his dad. But there's no portion of his life that's not distracted, taken off base, and taken out of kilter over this one thing. Now, I don't know what that one thing is for you, but I can tell you this. If you've got an organization with more than one human in it, you've got more than one thing that is that one thing that distracts. You've heard me talk about in the attitude hack how I had an employee who was a delivery driver, great delivery driver, always made great tips, cute as a button, loved everybody loved her. But when her boyfriend went off to college and she stayed behind, every customer she delivered to heard that story. Every customer she delivered to felt the grief that she was feeling. Every customer she delivered to forgot where they got the food. That doesn't do my business brand any good at all. They forgot when she made a delivery and it was the wrong delivery order that they actually were calling to complain that they got the wrong delivery order, because the first thing they had to talk about was how sad they felt for her. It's really hard to keep the main thing when you get a whole bunch of humans and each of them have this one thing, like that obsession from way back when, that job task they just can't complete, that relationship that's eating them up from the inside, that financial burden they can't get over. We see it depicted throughout movies and things of that nature on a regular basis. And in those movies, those depictions, what we see is things like gambling, like an affair, something of that nature, that really what's happening is their inability to focus on their job, to figure out what the mission is, to stay in control of the mission. Well, what is it I'm supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be focused on? What are the tasks at hand? Maybe they've even got a checklist, a to-do list, things that they're supposed to be doing. And they don't get done. They get behind. They get lazy. They get apathetic. They're not focused on the job because there's a story in their head that's a little bit random. It drives them away like squirrel. But it's not just a momentarily distracted impact. It's a larger impact. Now multiply that by 5, 10, 15, 2,500 employees, and you have a mess. Let me add another squirrel to the mix. What if it's not just the personal life distractions, the work-life balance myth. It's not just that. It's the fact that department head number 1 and department head number 2 both have a completely different way of looking at what the business or the organization is supposed to accomplish. I've been an advisor for a board of a ministry for a little over 12 years, 15 years, on and off. I've served them, taken a hiatus, come back, been asked to leave, come back. In each of these journeys, what I've seen is it's not just the executive director, but sometimes it's the executive director plus an outside consulting firm who says, well, if you're going to raise the money, you need to focus on this, this, and this. And then the director goes off to speak to other counselors, to other coaches, to other team members, to board members. And people are like, no, you need to focus on this one thing. And then they'll bring in other advisors and other coaches and other consultants. And I have to be honest and say, I see this a lot in most of my clients. When they have different coaches who have different areas of focus, that coach's area of focus, their expertise, their skill set, their driving passions, take note of this, their desire to have a client that they can put up as the ideal testimonial and go, I helped this client accomplish that goal. But that goal isn't necessarily focused on that client. It's focused on that coach, because that coach wants to be able to say, look what I did. Look what I did with them, through them, for them. And that very myopic view for an outside consultant, an agency, a PR firm, a client who's trying to do business together in a partnership or a collaboration, that they sometimes have this little bit of a conflict. It's what do we want to do is different than what I want to do and what you want to do. I need you to take a deep breath and think about that for a moment. You might need to write that equation down. If what I want to do and what you want to do doesn't equal what we want to do, you're going to have conflict. Let me say that in another word. Division, division, diverted vision, a vision divided, a vision cut in half. If what you want to do and what I want to do don't equal what we want to do, you're going to have a problem. Now, put all of these pieces together, and that problem begins to look like this. Team 1 meets on Monday morning. Team 1 says, this is our goal, these are our objectives, this is what we have to get done, this is when, and here's how we're going to follow up on. This is our level of accountability. Now, everybody say, win the sale. On 3, ready, 1, 2, 3, win the sale, yay! And then team 2 meets on Tuesday. And team 2 has a couple of people from team 1, but they really have a different leader with a different vision. And they said, we are going to knock customer service out of the park. No customer complaints, no chargebacks, no returns for the next 90 days. Everything we do is going to be about making happy customers. On 3, happy customers. 1, 2, 3, happy customers. Now you've got team 1 and team 2, Monday's team and Tuesday's team, and they each have different driving motivations. The goal as achieved sounds different. It operates different. They're going for a different thing. If you have a team where the objective of the coach is pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, and that's what they focus on is we are a team. We always pass the ball. But they got nobody on that team that shoots, then there will never be a score. We won. We passed the ball more times than the other team. Yeah, but you failed to put it across the goal line or through the hoop or in the net. I mean, what was the point? What was the objective? Passing the ball? That's it? That was our job, was to pass the ball? No, the objective is to score. But what does a score look like? And can you score if one person is like the sales team? Sales, 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 sales. If that's all they have, if that's what they're driving for, if that's the vernacular of the team leader, those stories sound like I'm doing everything I can to close the next sale. Are you on the phone making enough phone calls? Have you sent enough emails? Have you been out there to see the customer? If those answers are no, then you have not done everything you can to close the sale. And the result is we don't meet our sales goals. Oh, well, that's a bit of a problem. Yeah, that can be a big problem. So now the next question is, how do you get team one, let's sell, 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 and team two together? Customer service, customer. We want happy customers. Happy customers, sale. Are those two in conflict? Well, they could be. Let me go one other way. What if sales said, as long as I get the contract and the deposit, I get paid, I'm good. But on the backside of that, is the customer happy? You have a whole lot of chargebacks, returns, customer low quality satisfaction scores and ratings. They feel like they've been sold into something. I was convinced I had to do this, and now I want my money back. That disappointment goes somewhere else. Where does it go? Well, it goes to your brand, which then impacts your social media, which then impacts everything that's said about you outside the building or when you walk out of the room. And so now you've got a brand constituency issue. All these people, these constituents, these customers, these people that you serve, they're thinking one thing, while your two internal departments, your sales and your keep the customer happy, they're a little bit in conflict with each other. They have different agendas and different goals. I reach my standards if there are no returns, but you keep telling people they're going to get, they're going to lose 100 pounds in 3 hours if they eat this thing. If they take this one supplement, if they go on this one cruise, their marriage will last for 50 years. This cruise is going to solve everything. And we all know that can't all be true. But if somebody buys that and then the result they get is different, there's going to be a chargeback. There's going to be a complaint. There's going to be an unhappy customer. Now you got at least 3 different messages going on. And those stories internally, they become a problem. Look, the challenge that many organizations have is trying to figure out, where do we find the language that we repeat internally? And what happens, unfortunately, a lot of times is they go to a local bookstore, they go online, they jump on Amazon, and they're like, we need motivational posters. And so we get these giant posters and we put them on the wall. And people walk by them and they're like, reach for the stars. At least if you're missed, you'll fall among the moon. Or moon, reach for the moon, you'll fall among the stars. There's a geography problem there, for what it's worth. Most stars, in fact, none of them are closer to us than the moon. So if you aim for the moon, you will probably not land among the stars. You probably won't get out of the atmosphere. I know. It's a technical thing. But if you've got these posters all over the place and people are looking at these posters going, yeah, I'm motivated, I feel good when I see that poster, man, that just tells me I'm going to the top. Smile. People like a smile better than a frown. Great. True. Yes, absolutely. But how do those motivational quotes and phrases, the rah-rah meetings, the sales meeting, we're going to reach our goals and we're all going to the beach when we reach our goals. Yay. But 6 months from now, when all of that work has to come back and be done again, when all those pieces and parts have to be rebuilt or remanufactured or reshipped, when there's customer dissatisfaction with the things that we actually delivered on after the big sales campaign, now what? I mean, we're all at the beach. Well, the people back at HQ are going, hey, thanks for selling a bunch of nothing. Thanks for all that money that came in, because now HR and accounting are saying it's all going back out again. Our customer service reviews are trashed. Why? Well, because sales worked really hard to sell so they could go to the beach. But see, their languaging, the phrases, they look like the motivational posters. They look like the things that say, go get it done, make stuff happen. Not bad things to know, but are they consistent with the organization? Are they temporary mindsets? I remember, I've talked about this in previous shows, having the incentive to sell a certain thing, knowing it's not hard math. If you sell a $99 something and you get a $250 incentive for it, there's a reason they're trying to sell those. And it may not be math. See, these motivations, these incentives, these things that drive behavior, a lot of times they look and act like nothing more than a phrase. I mean, it's just somebody talking. And the real challenge is when that somebody talking has their own mission. temporarily we're going to sell this item. We're going to pay a huge incentive because we got to move a bunch of these items. You know who's usually driving that? It's a product manager in cahoots with a sales manager. And the product manager says, I have a budget of X to roll this product out and make sure it's a huge hit. Now, it was my idea, and the success on it may either make me the next promotion or cause me to be looking for a job. And so I need your sales team to really move this product, really pound this product. I remember from corporate America those times. I wasn't a product manager. I was a market manager. My job was to take the product to the sales reps and go, here's what you need to sell. Here's how you sell it. Here's the language you need to use to sell it. Here's what you're selling against. This is what the competitor looks like. And this is why your product's actually going to be better. That was my job. The sales job was to go out there according to the commitments that we made to the product manager, which they made to the higher ups about what our numbers were going to be like. And we're like, we're going to invent 500 of these, and we're going to sell 5,000 of these. And when we sell the first 600, we'll go produce more because we've only made 500 of them. Why'd you only make 500? Well, because what if we don't sell all of them? Our goal is to sell 5,000, but I want to make sure the first 500 are gone before I order the rest of them. Why? Well, because the confidence is not that high that our team can actually sell them. My job was to rally up the team and get them sold. And there were times that as a sales rep, I was handing a product and they're like, you need to go sell this. And I would look at the product and the customer base they intended to sell it to and go, no, I'm not selling that. That's a loser. The product idea doesn't make any sense. I worked for a company for a while that did jobs. We sold job postings by the tens of thousands. And one particular thing they wanted us to sell into was a job fair. Not a bad idea. Company comes, they have a booth, they collect resumes, they can scan them right there on site. Their little tools look through that resume and go, hey, this guy's a great candidate, or this gal's going to be perfect for your team. And if that score comes back right there on site, bam, they get a job interview. Great opportunity. Great opportunity for a company that needs to hire up really fast to gather all these people. However, the geniuses that decided to put this particular job fair together said, the kinds of people who are going to get that kind of job, they're like skater boys. I mean, they're like running around with a backpack on and they're, skating up and down there. This was before the days of Meta and Google and their big explosions of everybody wanting to work there. They said they're skating up and down the street. So we're going to do a skate park with the big jumps. We're going to have Tony Hawk and all these guys come in, and it's going to be spectacular. They're going to have a lot of fun. And we'll have the job fair around the outside of this big skate rally. It's going to be brilliant. And I said, when and where are you going to do this? And I said, we're going to do it in downtown Dallas, in West End, because that's where all these yuppie techo types live. And we're going to do it in the street. We're going to actually block off like 6 blocks. We're going to have the ramps built and half pipes built. It's going to be so cool. We'll have some food trucks out there. We'll have, it'll be like a giant rave type party. And then the job presenters, the ones that are offering the jobs, they'll be gathered around the outside perimeter with a booth and a place to do an interview and all that kind of stuff. And I said, hold on. So you want to go to downtown Dallas outdoors in August? I can tell you, I've lived in Texas the majority of my life, and just getting from the parking lot to the front office, you're going to be dripping, much less if you've been out there skating. And if you showed up to skate the half pipes with Tony Hawk and get some photos made, awesome. But if I've got to then stand there in my 2-piece suit or my 3-piece suit and do an interview with you while you smell like you've been skating in August for several hours, and I'm pulling your resume that's been rolled up with a rubber band around it like some kind of straw out of the back of your backpack that's probably been thrown on the ground half a dozen times, and it's curling up like a scroll and probably covered in sweat and smells a little funky too. I'm supposed to sit down now after scanning that resume and interview you while I'm melting? They said, it's a brilliant idea. It's all the right people in all the right places. And I said, I will not sell that product to even one of my existing customers. Not going to happen. Oh, that went all the way to the VP of sales. I got scolded significantly. They dropped about 70 grand to pull off that event. They had less than a handful of people. All the skaters showed up. Some of them even came with resumes. Most of them did not. Most of them showed up in their board shorts and tennis shoes. Vans would have made a heyday. Nobody wanted to post jobs or stand in the August sun to collect resumes. I was not at all shocked. But see, that's what happens when a product manager has to generate revenue somehow, and they come up with some genius idea, and they take a lot of pride in that idea. They are fully confident this is going to sell. It was my idea. Of course it's great. I'm not saying that negative about anybody. If you don't believe in your ideas, you're in the wrong line of work, whatever your ideas are. If you're a leader, an influencer, a decision maker, if other people are doing things because you think it's a good idea, you better believe in your ideas. But also know this, just because you believe in your idea doesn't make it a great idea. And if it doesn't align with the organization, again, I can tell you the number of organizations I've consulted for, worked with, who have outside consultants, and the outside coach or consultant has the same kind of mindset as that product manager. The one who came up with the idea and went, this is brilliant. And everybody went, okay. I mean, maybe they had 5 or 6 sycophantic raving fans who went, that is genius. You'll make millions. I think that's one of the things I love about Shark Tank. When people go on Shark Tank and the sharks look at them and go, wait, how many of these have you actually sold? Oh, none. We haven't actually manufactured any yet. But you're here. Why? Because I need money and I need help. Oh, you need help. You need a lot of help, and you ain't getting my money because that ain't going to work. And then those people, they come in there and they're like, okay, so it seems like a little bit of a scatterbrained idea to me, but I mean, have you actually tried it and made a prototype? Oh yeah, we sold 700,000 of them this year. Wait, what? How do I get in? How much money can I put in? How much of your company are you willing to give up for my cash? And when I hear those people that say it's a tried and true program, it's tested, it's been out there in the marketplace, people already love it, I just know that I don't have the chops to scale it up. I need somebody with the organizational ability, with the background to come into our company and help us take that to the next level. Here's what that says. I understand my messaging. I understand my mission. I know what I'm trying to accomplish, and I have a pretty good idea how to get it there. What I don't know is how to talk to the teams, or even who the teams are necessary. That's an entirely different thing than someone who says, I'm going to go to this coach on Monday and this coach on Tuesday and this coach on Wednesday. That's just like having a sales meeting on Monday and a marketing meeting on Tuesday and a product meeting on Wednesday and a customer service meeting on Thursday. You are divided in your mind. There's no way you're going to get a cohesive message. So what if I could give you some tips? Here's what I would recommend. These are really basic, very high level. But if you're starting off in business, or if you're running a business, you're like, I feel like there's going to be a knockdown, drag out every time our teams get together. Every time our department heads get together, I realize these people don't even seem like they work for the same organization. If that's the case, these are 3 really basic tips that I want you to try to employ and see what happens. And if you have a little bit of progress with this, but you'd like a little more guidance, go to storypoweracademy.com and find the Attitude Hack course and either download the course and walk through it yourself, or you can hire us for a day. We'll come in and do a full-blown training where people begin to understand how this messaging matters. But here's the 3 tips. Number 1, I want you to speak in the terms of the mission. Who do we help and how? Now that sounds very, very basic, but every post on social media, every ad campaign, every PR campaign, everything you do should be asking the question, who do we help? Who's my customer? Who do I serve? How do I serve them? Who do I help and how? Every time there's a conversation in the office, around the water cooler, at the lunch break, at the town hall meeting, at the annual awards banquet, every one of those things should be asking and answering that question. We help people own farm tractors. We help people who print large amounts of documents. We help people who build signs. When you can answer those questions consistently, when every department head can answer that question. This is number 2. Help the department heads delineate their customer between internal and external services they provide. So sometimes you have an internal customer. that you have to serve that customer before what you do reaches the outside, before it reaches the actual paying customer, the one with the money in their hand. I know this when I was in sales and I would sell $20,000, $30,000 a month. I'd put the contracts together. I'd hand them over to the development team. It would actually have to actually build the thing that I sold. Now, I didn't sell weird things. I didn't sell things that people are like, what the heck is that? How am I supposed to make that? I sold things that were on the menu. I sold things that we were supposed to be able to deliver on. They're already in our pricing structure. We're already telling other customers we can deliver it. And time again, based on the volume of my ability to sell, I would outstrip the development team's ability to produce the product. They just couldn't deliver the volume, the stats, the design in a timely manner. And there were many times that I would get paid the commission and then the customer would cancel. And now I'm getting chargebacks on my paycheck because the product team never got the product out the door. And now the customer 30, 60, 90 days in, they're going, I'm not paying the bill. I never got the delivery of the product. Well, when you can get your department heads to ask and answer the question, who do I help and how? And what if those are not external customers? Yeah, ultimately I do, but internally I got to take care of the teams that are taking care of me. Without them, I don't have a job. So what does that look like? How do I serve them well? How do I get the right numbers to accounting? How do I get the right product back to sales? How do I get sales satisfied with meeting the demands that they've sold so that we can actually deliver these products? And number 3, I want you to craft some statements, some stories, some phrases, which tie together cohesively the sales department, the marketing department, the customer service department, the product or production department, so that when they say things, they're not department only. And if they are department only, if the sales team sell, we're going to beat this quota by Friday, and the customer service team is like, we're just going to make happy customers. Great, you should both be able to do that. How do those two messages come together? We're only going to sell what makes the customer happy. Ooh, what a novel idea. I'm not going to sell based on the spiff or the sales awards or the short-term objectives. I'm going to sell based on what makes customers happy. But see, this doesn't start in the sales call. It starts in the meeting with the department heads. What I want you to create is some phrases, some stories, some successes, and some acknowledgments of places we could improve. SWOT analysis, right? Think through that process. Create the narrative like a mosaic. A narrative that identifies the story, if you will, from every single department: sales, customer service, product delivery, follow-up, accounting, whatever it is. I want you to be able to look across the board. And if they all did that round robin type thing, I've done this with teams where we bring in a karaoke setup and I give them the song, but I say, you got to rewrite the lyrics. And this department only gets to write the first verse. And then this department's going to write the chorus, and this department's going to write the third verse. Oh, and by the way, this department is writing the second half of the first verse, and this department's writing the second half of the second verse. And so by the time we're done, you're doing this in a vacuum, but it's based on your company's vision. See what happens with the kind of song. Are they telling the same story? Are they on the same page? Are they on the same sheet of music? Are they even in the same genre? We got hip hop over here and classic rock over here. You're going to have a funky song. What happens when that's what faces your customer? Every department they talk to, they're not on mission with the global mission of the organization. They're not looking at why are we here? Who do we help and how do we help them? That's what our organization was founded on. But each department seems to be doing something different for somebody else, and they don't know if their customer is in the building or outside the building. The result of that is everybody's confused, and nobody is actually delivering that product. Look, if you are running an organization, again, 2 people, 2,500 people, doesn't matter. If the story that they're telling within their department, if the team is reporting back to you a different story than the guys down the hall or the girls across the street, if that organization isn't consistent in the messaging in accordance with the mission, you're going to have a mess. If your message doesn't align with your mission, you're going to have a mess. Happens every day. But you've got to get that under control, and you've got to get the distractions out. When people bring their distractions of life into the narrative that is your business, they're going to be telling stories that got nothing to do with what you do. And you're going to lose customers over that. You're going to lose fundraising. You're going to lose sales. You're going to lose investors. You're going to lose ground. You've got to get the distractions out by being clear on the narrative. From the department head to the newest employee, from the department head to the C-suite. One mission, one message. That's what you got to do. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Think storytelling's just for bedtime? Nah, it's the secret sauce for business magic. Stuck in a rut with bland pitches and yawning clients? Enter Boost Your Business with Story Power. 6 weeks of epic storytelling training. It's like leveling up in a video game but for your career. Master the art of narrative and watch connections blossom like a viral TikTok. Simple, impactful, and game-changing. Ready to transform your biz vibes? Dive in now and make storytelling your superpower.
This 6 weeks guided program is specifically designed for those people who say, I know I need to tell stories. I need to tell better stories because the ones I have are boring or they're not getting across. Or as John Maxwell says, everyone communicates and, well, few connect. Now, as a participant in this course, what I would really love to know from you, put it in the discussion on the course if you're already registered online. Send me a chat, send me a DM, send me a text, send me an email. I'd really love to know what you hope to get out of this course. Now, I can tell you what we're going to discuss, and I can tell you what I plan to teach and train you on, and I can tell you even what we plan to discuss each week on the calls for the next 6 weeks. I'm going to go over all of that for you in just a moment. I can also tell you that my clients who get the greatest success are the ones who apply the Story Power process to their business development to increase their impact, their influence, and their income. Now, the Story Power process includes story mining, story selection, story qualification, story crafting, connecting with your audience, and leading the narrative. And if you leave any one of those parts out, you're going to find that, well, you're just not as effective as you want to be. You're not going to grow your business to the same level. You're not going to lead with impact and influence like you hope to. I can also tell you that the people who apply these things, well, they're not failing in their business. The reason a lot of people fail in their business is they continue to fail to connect the solution they offer with the problem that their clients have. The pain and the solution never come together. And a lot of that failure is because they're not clearly articulating how their solution solves someone else's problem. It comes down to a question something like this. Who do you help and how? Yes, that's one of the first things we're going to discuss over the next 6 weeks of Boost Your Business with Story Power.
Master the Story Power method to captivate your audience, improve workplace culture, and 10x your fundraising.
Scan the QR code to book your first coaching call or visit storypowercoach.com.
Subscribe now for our extensive video